And time. I've always been motivated by progress, to push myself to share new and exciting coffee experiences. Progress can look like new processing techniques or brew methods, but at the heart of truly meaningful progress is collaboration and the ways in which we work together to share these coffees. Now, since 2018, the first year that I stepped on this stage, I've been working with one producer and their team to make progress, both individually as well as the coffees we work together to serve. This producer's name is Juan Peña, and the farm, Hacienda La Papaya, in Saraguro, Ecuador. It's this collaboration and progress that drives me to be here with you today. If you look at the top of my menus, I'll be starting with my milk course, serving you 2 coffees that hold a lot of personal and professional significance for me. Now, the first of these 2 coffees is a Cedro variety, and this actually takes me back to 2020, the last time that I was on this stage with Juan's coffees. Leading up to 2020, Juan and I worked on 15 different experiments to identify processing techniques and explore the varieties grown at La Papaya. We found that the Cedro's fruit flavors and sweetness paired perfectly with anaerobic processing, which intensified those fruit flavors and created a dark chocolate complexity. Today, I'm serving you the progression of this Cedro, both in terms of the flavors in the cup, as well as the progress that Juan and I have made together to share this coffee with you today. Whereas the Cedro in 2020 was a nano lot, processed specifically for the flavors that you're about to experience and shipped via FedEx, the Cedro that I'm serving you today is a regular offering by Juan's exporting business, a business which has grown since 2020 to allow for us to serve coffees like this to our guests beyond the competition stage. The Cedro I'm serving you sees a 120-hour anaerobic process, a process which we further developed from the 48-hour anaerobic process we used in 2020. Whereas the Cedro in 2020 was processed to balance flavors from variety and processing, Juan was able to implement a longer fermentation to further develop the flavors in the cup, giving this coffee a wonderful presence in milk. Now, the second coffee that I'll be serving you today takes me back to 2018, the first year that I visited La Papaya. Upon my first visit to the farm, Juan and I walked to one of the highest points on the farm at over 2,000 meters above sea level, where he had just planted the first geisha trees. It's taken over 5 years for these trees to begin producing coffee, and it's this same coffee that I'm so excited to get to share with you today. This geisha is the coffee we'll continue exploring throughout our time together, reflecting on the progress that it's made for us to experience this coffee today. So, in your milk drinks, I'll be using 5 grams of the Cedro alongside 16 grams of the geisha for a recipe of 20 grams in the portafilter, yielding 39 grams out. This gives my milk espressos sweetness and flavor from the geisha, as well as texture and complexity from the Cedro. The milk I've chosen is a blend of lactose-free 2% milk and freeze-distilled 1% milk, which I chose for the lower fat content and higher milk sweetness from glucose and galactose, replacing lactose, to pair beautifully with the wonderful flavors and sweetness of these coffees. So, in your milk drinks, you're going to experience Neapolitan ice cream, graham cracker, and an amaretto finish. The cups I've chosen for this service are designed by a ceramicist friend named Sarah back in Santa Barbara. We designed these cups around this specific combination of Juan's coffees and 70 grams of this milk for the most harmonious balance of coffee flavor and milk sweetness. Now, judges, these two coffees represent progress. For myself, for Juan, and for the two of us together. And it's this same stage that you and I are sharing today that shaped these coffees and the experience that you're about to have with them today. Please enjoy these drinks. When I first tasted this geisha, it was from early picking of the geisha trees that had just begun producing coffee. At the time, Juan and his team had prepared these coffees as traditional washed and natural processes, relying on systems that they've developed to produce exceptional specialty coffee. Now, when Juan and I began discussing how to progress this coffee, we found that we had both been thinking independently back to 2020. So that 48-hour anaerobic process we had utilized with the Sidra. With this intentional fermentation, we were able to develop complex acidity and textures in the geisha while preserving all the flavors to the geisha variety. Now, we've also seen progress as a roasting business alongside Juan's farming and exporting business. Growing from purchasing 400 kilograms of coffee from La Papaya in 2018 to over 4,000 kilograms in 2023. Now, this progress and growth is significant because neither we as a roaster nor Juan as a coffee producer could exist if we only produce coffees like this geisha. This geisha represents a naturally low-yielding variety, processed specifically for the flavors that you're about to experience. Without this progress and growth that Juan and we have seen together, we might not be able to experience this coffee at all. Now, I'll be placing my espressos in front of you. Please perform your visual evaluations, but wait to taste. It's really not Lisa. Now, espresso is a beverage that to me can be full of coffee flavor and complexity, but it's also a beverage that can overshadow some of the flavors that I want to share in this geisha. Now, to showcase everything that I feel is exceptional about this coffee, I've chosen to freeze my coffee doses and use this bentwood grinder on my machine table. By freezing my coffee doses and the combination of the bentwood's pre-breaker system, which breaks the coffee up into smaller pieces before reaching the burrs, I was able to significantly increase fines and improve extraction, really progressing the experience that I want to share with this coffee today. So, in your espressos today, you're going to experience flavors of grilled pineapple, like a sweeter cooked version of the fruit, a pink grapefruit flavor, and a 72% dark chocolate. The tactile is a medium weight with a light syrup texture and a finish that's softly tannic. Judges, please go ahead. Stir your espressos 3 times front to back. You may place your spoons in those amber jars once you've finished, and enjoy these coffees. 5 years in the making. I'd like for us to go back to 2018, before these geisha trees ever began producing coffee. 5 years, we can only imagine what flavors these coffees would have in store for us today. After walking the farm in the mornings, Juan and I would gather over tropical fruit smoothies in the afternoons, joking that this coffee would have the same tropical flavors and sweetness of those smoothies that we enjoyed together. For my signature beverage, I want to create that experience we imagined 5 years ago, using this coffee that Juan and I have worked together to share with you today. My first ingredient is 6 grams of a lacto-fermented passion fruit, which I made with 200 grams passion fruit and 2 grams salt, fermenting in an airtight container for 120 hours. This fermentation intensifies the citric acidity of passion fruit while preserving the sweetness and tropical flavors, and this will give my signature drinks flavors of pink guava. My second ingredient is 12 grams of a jasmine-scented honey, an aroma that captivated me when I first smelled the aroma of jasmine flowers and geisha coffee blossoms growing together at La Papaya. To prepare this ingredient, I used 100 grams of honey, 100 grams of water, and infused this with 6 grams of jasmine flowers that I picked back in Santa Barbara for 48 hours. This ingredient will combine with the floral flavors of the geisha to create a flavor of strawberry syrup in your signature drinks. Now, my third ingredient is 8 grams of a Chinese Baimudan white tea, which I've been preparing throughout our time together with 4 grams of tea leaves, with 150 milliliters of water, brewed at 180 degrees for 3 minutes. This ingredient will give my drinks a botanical and complex flavor, and will combine with the geisha to create a new flavor of pink grapefruit in your drinks. Now, the recipe that I'm using for this course is 20 grams in, 44 grams out, which I've used to extract a roast that we allowed to rest for 45 days. This rested coffee allows me to improve extraction and minimize crema. And by placing my espressos in this vacuum blender and releasing the vacuum, I'm able to remove even more crema, which will give more distinct flavors of the geisha in your drinks and a more clear flavor. I'll be combining this coffee with all of my other ingredients in this frozen ISI whipper, inside of which I placed stainless steel whiskey rocks to further aid in chilling without added dilution. Now, to recreate that texture of those tropical fruit smoothies that Juan and I enjoyed together, I'll be charging your drink with nitrogen, which will give your signature drinks a creamy texture. Now, I'll ask that you wait to taste these drinks until after I call time, after which please assess in at least 2 sips. If you need a reminder of any of the ingredients, flavor descriptors, or amounts, you can find those all on your place settings in front of you. Judges, progress takes collaboration. And it's collaboration like this one between Juan and myself that I believe defines specialty coffee. It allows us to raise the bar in terms of the coffees we share and the experiences we create. It is such an honor for me to share these coffees, and thank you for continuing to be a part of this progress. Time.
Give it up, Cheon. Dune Coffee. Santa Barbara, California. It's okay.
Hey, Lim.
How do you feel?
My mouth is very dry, but very good.
You want some water? Do you have some water? Get some water, man.
Thank you for the reminder.
It happens. And you're such a smooth operator. I mean, you've done this before, obviously. What is special about this presentation versus all the other ones I've seen?
I think each year that I choose to compete, it becomes more and more obvious that one of the most important things for me is to, bring something that I feel is authentic for me, something that, no one else could do. And whenever I, think about what a presentation by me looks like, it always kind of comes back to, this relationship with Juan. I've progressed so much as a coffee professional, alongside Juan, getting to share these coffees both in competition and both, in our cafes. And that is kind of the core of what I wanted to share in this presentation. Thinking back to the time that we put in together, the progress that we made together, and, kind of anxiously and excitedly looking ahead to what the future has for us.
It's a long road for all competitors here, from prelims, qualifiers to nationals. What were some of the challenges that you had to work through to get to nationals?
I think, the thing that I love most about Barista competition is that you are, kind of your only opponent. It doesn't really matter what anyone else does. It just matters what you do on stage. And I think that's also something that always pushes me, throughout the process is, getting better at the entire thing, managing stress, managing, different obligations, and getting better and better as a coffee person and a human in that progress.
Do you have any questions for Kay?
Do you have any shout outs?
I have many shout outs. First and foremost is Juan and his team. Thank you so much, Juan, for these amazing coffees year in and year out. Thank you for trusting us to share these. Thank you to the entire Dune team. A lot of them are here. A lot of them are back home. Todd, Julia, everyone here, thank you so much for all the work that you've done. And I couldn't do any of this without you. Thank you to my partner, Helena, who designed these menus. These are kind of the menus that I've always wished I've had. And she finally put them together, and it's a dream come true.
Heck yeah. Give it up one more time, y'all. Cheon, Dune Coffee.